Hello guys, my name is Muhammad AKIF bin Yusop. My metric number is 2023822408.
Hi guys, my name is Muhammad HAZIM bin RADZI. My metric number is 20234369334.
Hello guys, my name is Muhammad NOORFARIDZAL bin AZMI. My student ID is 2023889682.
Hi, my name is Muhammad FAWWAZ bin FAIZ. So my student ID is 2023623732.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AMMAR Hakimi bin FAIZ. My metric number is 2023626138.
Assalamualaikum. Good evening. I am AMMAR Hakimi bin FAIZ, and here's what's making headline around the world. Tonight, we turn our focus to Argentina, a country rich in culture, history, and recent development shaping its future. Geography and background of country is first thing we will look when talking about country. Located in southern region of South America, Argentina covers about 2.78 million square kilometers, making it the 8th largest country in the world and the second largest on the continent. It shares borders with Uruguay and the Atlantic Ocean to the east, Brazil to the northeast, Bolivia and Paraguay to the north, and Chile to the west. Its diverse landscape include the towering Andes Mountains, the fertile Pampas Plains, and the windswept wilderness of Patagonia. Turning to the economy, Argentina has a nominal GDP estimated at around $604 billion in this year, according to the IMF, or slightly higher at $624 billion according to World Economics. The economy grew modestly in 2023 and is projected to grow by about 1.7% in 2024. Agriculture, manufacturing, and service form the backbone of the economy. Argentina is major global exporter of soybeans, corn, wheat, and beef, and it holds significant reserve of shale oil, natural gas, especially in the Vaca Muerta region, and lithium, one of the largest reserves in the world. Yet, despite its abundant resources, Argentina continues to struggle with deep-seated economic challenge. The biggest threat this year is runaway inflation, which has skyrocketed to an alarming 2.918%, among the highest rates in the world. For ordinary Argentinians, this means the cost of everyday essentials like food, fuel, and housing continues to rise at an unsustainable pace, eroding purchasing power and deepening poverty. Lastly, the high inflation rate goes hand in hand with currency devaluation, fiscal deficit, and recurring debt crises that have haunted Argentina for decades. Although unemployment is at 6.4%, poverty remains high, and many families are struggling to meet ends meet. While the country's tertiary sector, including service, account for 64% of GDP, the secondary sector make up to 8%, and the primary sector, mainly agriculture, contributes 11%. For the people of Argentina, resilience and hope remain as strong as ever. We will continue to monitor this story closely. For now, let's continue the news with Muhammad AKIF.
Thank you, AMMAR Hakimi. This is the data of inflation rate in Argentina for the past 10 years. From 2015 to 2017, Argentina experienced relatively stable inflation, fluctuating slightly between 23.9% and 26.5%. However, starting in 2018, inflation began to rise more noticeably, hitting 34.3% and continued increasing to 53.5%. In 2019, there was a brief dip in 2020 to 42%, but the upward trend quickly resumed. By 2020, inflation had reached 72.4%, and in 2023, it has reached triple digit to 133.5%. The most dramatic spike occurred in 2024 as the speed of inflation rate increasing at alarming rate, with inflation soaring to 229.8%, indicating a severe economic crisis. This sharp acceleration highlights deep-rooted financial instability and a significant loss of purchasing power. For more detailed explanation, we're gonna continue with FAWWAZ and HAZIM. Thank you.
Okay, thank you AKIF. So today I'm going to continue with causes that cause inflationary rate in Argentina increase. In 2015, inflationary rate in Argentina was increased due to a combination of factors including excessive money printing to finance government spending, a large fiscal deficit, and a loss of confidence in Argentina peso, leading to increased demand for a foreign currency. The situation was exacerbated by a default on debt, payment and a currency control, further fueling inflationary. In 2016, it was fueled by a combination of factors including persistent public overspending, money creation to a finance budget, and a lack of investor confidence to invest. This situation was exacerbated by the government's effort to avoid drastic changes that would have further destabilized the country. But in 2017, high inflation was primarily driven by a chronic fiscal deficit and expansionary monetary policy. The government was spending beyond its means, financing this deficit by printing money, which led to a rapid increase in the money supply and ultimately fueled inflation. Additionally, the central bank decided to ease its inflation target for 2018 and 2019, contributed to inflationary pressure by signaling a less restrictive monetary policy. In 2018, Argentina experienced a currency crisis leading to hyperinflation, primarily driven by a combination of factors including a large fiscal deficit, high level of debt, and several droughts that impacted export and tax revenue. These issues were exacerbated by a rising US interest rate, which led to a capital flight from emerging markets like Argentina, further weakening the peso. For 2019, currency depreciation is one of the reasons why inflation rate in Argentina was increased when the peso value against other currency plummeted, making import more expensive and contributing to a rising domestic prices for a goods and services. Other than that, Argentina also struggled to access international credit market, meaning it couldn't borrow money to cover its deficit, further pushing it toward relying on money printing. So I will give to Azim to continue 2020 until 2044.
So thank you FAWWAZ. We're gonna continue with the year 2020. The COVID-19 catalyzed inflation 42% in 2022. The COVID-19 pandemic triggered global economic disruption. For Argentina, the government took immediate steps to protect jobs and health service, increasing public spending significantly. However, with limited access to external financing and a history of weak fiscal discipline, the government turned to printing money to fund the growing deficit. This monetary expansion increased the supply of peso in the economy without a matching increase in production. A textbook recipe for inflation, although the inflation rate was already high before COVID-19 accelerated this pattern. For 2021, inflation meets policy control. Inflation 48.4%. By 2021, inflation climbed further as economic activity resumed. The public began feeling the squeeze as the purchasing power of wages eroded, making essential like food and medicine unaffordable for many Argentines. And for 2022, the global shocks hit home. Inflation is 72.4%. In 2022, inflation took another leap. This time, external shock played a major role. The war between Russia and Ukraine disrupted global supply chains, causing a sharp increase in fuel and food prices worldwide. And continue with 2023. Currency collapse and political pressure, inflation 133.5%. By 2023, Argentina's inflation had doubled to over 133. A key driver, the devaluation of the Argentina peso, as confidence in the currency dropped. The peso lost value rapidly against the US dollar, raising the cost of all imported goods. This sparked imported inflation, where prices rise not because of local demand, but due to rising costs of foreign goods priced in stronger currencies. And for the last 2024, the breaking point inflation 229.8%. Now in 2024, Argentina faced the highest inflation in decades. Multiple forces have collided. Climatic disasters, events like El Nino and La Nina severely damaged Argentina's agricultural output, a key sector for both domestic food supply and export earning. This reduced supply caused food price to surge locally. Next, fiscal irresponsibility. Instead of cutting spending or improving tax collection, the government continued to finance its budget deficit by printing money, further weakening the peso and feeding inflation. And last, Argentina inflation crisis is no longer just about rising price. It's a reflection of deeper economic imbalance, institutional weakness, and policy failures. From pandemic relief to currency collapse and climate disasters, the country is caught in a web of both internal mismanagement and global headwind. So, if Argentina hopes to restore price stability, it will need more than short-term fix. It must rebuild public trust, fiscal discipline, and long-term credibility, always being locked in endless inflation trend.
Thank you, HAZIM. In 2020, Argentina Central Bank made several important moves to support the economy during the COVID-19 crisis. First, on reserve requirement, this will hike around 30 to 40% to control the money supply. But during the pandemic, the bank reduced them for certain sectors, especially to help small and medium-sized business to get more credit. Next, open market operation. In May 2020, Argentina missed a debt payment and default on about $65 billion. After months of talk, a deal was reached in August. The government swapped all bonds for new one with lower interest rate, dropping from 7% to just over 3%. Also, no payment need on the new bonds until 2024. As for interest rate, the central bank lowered them to help the economy. Rates dropped from 55% in late 2019 to 38% by March 2020. The discount rate, also called LIQ rate, was also cut. It went from 55% in January to 38% by March. By the end of the year, it stayed at 38%, down from around 61% in 2019. To sum up, in 2020, Argentina used lower rates and flexible rule to ease the impact of COVID-19 and support recovery. That's all from me. Now we go back to Hakim.
In summary, Argentina, a vast resource-rich nation with a population of 46 million, remains a major global exporter of key commodities like soybean, beef, and lithium. Yet, despite its natural wealth, the country continues to grapple with deep-rooted economic instability, driven by high fiscal deficit and soaring inflation that has now reached nearly 230% in 2024. Over the past decade, currency crisis, global shock like the pandemic and the Ukraine war, and climate events have only added to Argentina's struggles. Heavy money printing and mounting debt payments have made it harder to keep inflation in check. In response, Argentina leaders have turned to contractionary monetary policies, including tightening the money supply, rising interest rates, and using open market operation in hopes of easing inflation grip on the economy. For millions of Argentinians, the path forward remains uncertain, but the fight to stabilize the peso and restore confidence continues. For now, Argentina battle with inflation is far from over. I am AMMAR Hakimi bin Faisal, and that's all for the news today. Stay with us for more global updates after this.